Hello, everyone. Welcome back. This is Cureton, Senior Journalist for XR today, and we're joining you for the latest and greatest for the VR, AR, and XR industry. Today we have on, yet again, as always, another special guest. We have on Elizabeth Hyman, President and Chief Executive of the XR Association. So thank you so much, Liz. I guess you want me to call you Liz for this one.
That'll work. That'll work. Hi, Damon.
Or,
It's great to see you. Thank you for having me.
Thanks so much. And yeah, as always, we appreciate your time, your insights, and everything for this nice podcast we're about to have. So, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do with the XRA, and your role?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm coming up on my third anniversary. Actually, I may have just hit it in terms of being the head of the XR Association. And my background is someone who has been sort of at the intersection of public policy and technology and business. And I've worked at other industry trade associations, and it prepared me well, I think, for this exciting space because we're really focused on that responsible development of XR and at the very beginning days. And so I love the fact that we can work on, trying to create best practices, trying to really reach out and educate policymakers and others in the field so that they understand what the technology is about. And of course, just be a real cheerleader and booster for what I believe is going to be the next computing platform. So it's been just a joy to be on board and working with our member companies to get all of that done through community leadership and advocacy.
Absolutely. And I know it's going to be a Herculean effort to organize everything, which will actually touch in a few questions. So I'll have to pick your brain about that. But for the first one, what I'd like for us to talk about is recently you had a call to action at the AWE 2022. So that's the Augmented World Expo. And you gave the audience quite a very impressive, I guess if you want to call it keynote speech or like a very, good address about some of the things you wanted or expected from the XR industry. Could you tell us a little bit about that and why you specifically chose the AWE to reveal that news?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you. It was such an honor to get to deliver that main stage presentation. And it's important because the people in the audience are, they're business developers and executives and engineers and even end users that are looking to this industry to create that technological platform for innovation and for, lots to thrive in the economy, et cetera. But I wanted to make sure that as we're still in the early days of our development of this technology, that everybody has their eye on a few things. One is, how do we collectively work together to identify and address some of the challenges that our industry will present, whether it's topics around privacy, interoperability, other sort of challenging conversations that need to take place. And that as we're designing these experiences, we should be thinking about these things right now, not as an afterthought. So that was one thing that I really wanted to get across. And two, that it's going to take a significant amount of collaboration. And I wanted to give a call out to all of the groups that are working on these types of conversations and efforts. And then thirdly, and this is where the specific call to action came into being here, I mentioned that I've always sat at the intersection of public policy, technology, and business. And we know that there are members of Congress or in the European Commission or whatever that legislative body might be or the government regulatory agency might be. They're already thinking about this technology, but they don't necessarily know a lot about it. And what happens is you can have a situation where if they don't know a lot about it, regulatory efforts can be more of a blunt instrument. And so what we want to make sure is that when we think about regulation, that it benefits everybody, that it updates appropriately, but it is recognizing the importance of innovation and creativity and all the things that go into creating this new computing platform. So the call to action was there's something in the United States Congress called the Reality Caucus. And a caucus typically brings people in Congress together of shared interest to learn and to really have concrete discussions. But they're also our champions for our industry. And we pointed out that there aren't very many of them. So the call to action was to ask this audience to ask their members of Congress to join the Reality Caucus so that we can all sort of learn together and achieve a really positive environment for the growth of this industry in a way that is safe, respectful, inclusive for all people who want to partake of it.
Absolutely, and it's that collaborative effort that's going to make the industry flourish,
Yeah.
across all spectrums. So on a legislative or on a technological level, all of those things will be absolutely key to building those ecosystems for the future.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Dennis?
that goes. Yeah,
Sorry.
sure.
Can I add one other thing? We're still asking people to go ahead and ask their member of Congress. So if you go to our website, xra.org, you can find the link to do a letter to your member of Congress. So go ahead and do it. Yep.
Cool. Yeah, I'll include a link in that and for the interview. That's a very good point to point out. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we had the next thing I wanted to touch on. So there was a massive announcement that you made not too long ago, and you were talking about how you onboarded 10 new members for the XRA ecosystem, along with 3 huge companies, in the XR space, which were Qualcomm, who's making Snapdragon Spaces, Accenture. They onboarded about 60,000 headsets for their hiring processes, and then Unity Technologies, which of course they make a lot of the different platforms for people to engage and to create content. So, with this development, which is absolutely huge, this is in an industry-setting development. What does this signal to you about the ongoing developments in the global XR community and industry?
That's a great question. So I think, when we first started, the majority of our membership were hardware manufacturers, and they got together themselves to create this organization because they understood, as I just talked about vis-a-vis the AWE event, there are shared opportunities and challenges for this technology, and we need to come together and collaborate. But we also know it's not just about hardware manufacturers. It has to be about the platform. It has to be about the components and the peripherals and the infrastructure. And so we really set out as an organization to try to encourage these companies to come join. But I think what you're seeing is that people are getting excited about the potential of this technology. I think with the advent of the conversation around the big M word, metaverse, it really sort of got people to think a little bit more about how this is now part of their business plan going forward. And I think we're seeing more companies engage. And I would add, in addition to those wonderful big players that you talked about, we're seeing a lot of smaller solution providers and others starting to join because of the importance of convening and bringing people together through our community of working groups and committees, really to take on and address some of the challenges and opportunities that are out there. So we're thrilled. We're inviting more companies to come join us. We think now is just a crucial time to get these conversations up and running and to be that convener for this industry.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Good observations. And I think that, the more the merrier, as they say. Well, I'm looking forward to the numbers, going up and up and up, because you've already got amazing companies like HTC Vive, Meta already, and many, many others. So
Microsoft,
great job on that.
Sony, all those guys. It's awesome. We're thrilled.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Cool. Now, we'll touch in this particular subject. You had the Limitless Future Conference last year, if I'm not mistaken, and now you have an upcoming conference. So it's the second one after the inaugural one.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about some of the successes you had from the previous one, and then what you expect to accomplish with the upcoming?
Absolutely. So the first thing that was a success was that we did it in a virtual environment, right, during COVID. And it was our first sort of branded XRA event. And we had over 400 folks register for it. So that in and of itself shows a real thirst and interest in what's going on, particularly as it relates to XR for workforce training and upskilling. And I think you've probably seen, Damon, that that's been like an incredible use case that we're witnessing across the globe, because it has the potential to really be an inclusive tool that gets more diversity and equity in our workforce, right? Because we can reach out to different demographics and regions and elsewhere. We need some broadband to make that happen more completely. But the actual upskilling and tooling is important. And in fact, Christina Francis, who's the executive director of a group called Jobs for the Future, was part of my presentation at AWE because it is so powerful. They're really excited as an organization that works at, advancing the workforce in the American education system. They see XR as a vital tool for that. So that was our goal. We had amazing companies, the solution provider and their end users come and share, for example, Delta Airlines, and how they're using this to keep their workers safe while they're learning what the process is on the runway, essentially, right? Rather than being out with the live planes, let's do this in simulation. We saw a company called Agreco, which is a energy storage company. They use this. We saw Walmart came and spoke to us. That's been sort of the poster child, I think, for workforce training. But they shared sort of how they're trying to get this out to their workforce broadly. You mentioned a little while ago Accenture and the onboarding process that they're doing in the creation of their metaverse called Nth Floor. Those are the types of stories that the Limitless Future Conference is designed to highlight. And we're encouraging all these companies to come back. We're actually meeting in person this year in Atlanta, Georgia on November 1st. So we want to see all those people that joined us virtually come on down to Atlanta, and let's really get into the conversation about how this advances workforce development and upskilling, and really brings in opportunity populations that we should get into the workforce right now.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's going to be interesting. I know like Atlanta, Georgia is becoming one of the main hotspots for a lot of technologies, along with, of course, like DC, New York, always San Francisco. So it's great to see those hubs, rising, proliferating, for the XR industry as we move into spatial communications.
Yeah.
So, yeah, great luck with that. And
Thank you.
looking forward to seeing that.
Yeah, we're excited.
Nice. Now, we can touch on, I guess, the last main topic, if you want to say. Now, we talk a lot about ethics. This is one of the main things. This has already hit Meta platforms quite a bit over the last few months. And as they build the ecosystem, there will be a lot of ethical considerations that many companies will have to consider and look at, for their solutions. Now, I know that your organization has been heavily involved in this as well, and there was a recent NIST study that you joined and had a similar call to action for, and you wanted to kind of give those ethical considerations, more importance with those studies. Now, can you tell us why ethical concerns are so crucial to developing a global XR ecosystem, and how do you plan to actually, work with that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, there is a very, very passionate community that wants to get this technology off the ground. And the crux of that is making sure that people all across the globe have trust in our industry and what we're doing to build these immersive spaces. So, it's vital that all of these folks that are talking about whether it's ethics or human rights, or in our world, we talk about best practices. So early on, this organization put out 3 chapters of our developers guide, which are really very specific design principles to the developer community and to platforms about how to think about building these immersive spaces in a safe, respectful, and inclusive way. And so we started with physical and psychological safety. We moved on to how you think about content and conduct in an immersive space, sort of that online safety conversation. And then we moved on to accessibility. And we're going to continue to build on our efforts to put out these types of best practices so that we're thinking about these things in a holistic manner, that we understand that, that we need to build that trust in the technology. Just the other day, Joan O'Hara on my team moderated a panel at George Washington University on human rights and what's happening with XR. And you have people like Mel Slater or Rebecca Rouse or Britton Heller that are out there really bringing a light to many of these conversations. And as industry, we need to really focus on how we build that trust, how we address some of the things that are being brought up. So that's our mission, is that responsible development of XR. And therefore, these conversations are so vital to the success of the industry overall.
Absolutely, yeah. And I see ethics in general as becoming one of the major verticals for the XR industry, because they have to shape the policy, they have to shape, that policy will also have to go on the corporate level, on the government level, and they will all have to coincide with one another in order for the solutions to be successful. So, that's going to be, again, another monumental task, but I know that you guys can do it.
Yeah.
And I know that your partners across the pond will also be able to help with that as well.
Excellent.
So,
excellent. And that's the whole point, too. We want to make sure that we're bringing everybody together in these conversations. We recently launched something called our Future of XR Advisory Council, which is a group that includes civil society and academia, think tanks, and industry. We have to all come together and sort of focus on some of these conversations now and try to create roadmaps and frameworks that will help us as an industry as a whole to achieve the vision that we have for the technology.
Great. And I was going to ask you, did you have anything else that you wanted to add about, anything that we've discussed or, something off topic?
Yeah, no. The only thing I would add, Damon, is just sort of keep an eye on the space, right? We're going to be doing more of those best practices guides. Also, last year we partnered with the Information Technology Innovation Foundation, ITIF, on a AR/VR policy event. And we're going to do that again this year. In September 14th is the date, and we're going to do that in person in Washington, D.C. So put that on your calendar. And, we're just going to keep chugging along, trying to build partnerships. We recently did a workshop with, for example, the Joan Gans Cooney Center, which is the research arm of Sesame Street, looking at the impact of technology on young people. And we'll be sort of spinning out a few things based on that workshop and our own industry focus on how we make sure that it is a safe experience for younger people to use XR. So lots going on, and I really appreciate the opportunity to share those things with you today.
Absolutely. Pleasure's mine as well.
Yeah.
So thanks so much for joining us today. And those were excellent insights. And I'm looking forward to seeing the future of XR with you guys, as well as, how the industry is going to develop over the next few years.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Brilliant. So everyone, once again, we've been speaking to Liz Hyman, Chief Executive and President of the XR Association. My name is Cureton, Senior Journalist for XR Today. If you'd like to continue following the developments on our website, please join us at the XR News hashtag at our Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook pages. And once again, thanks so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure, and signing off for today. Have a great day.